I have just finished recording an excellent episode with my oldest son, Zach. Zachary Thomas is his name. Zach is 18 years old. Now, Zach is not going to fully give you his picture into his future because he's considering all of his options. And he's got a lot of great ones. But I think where he's zeroing in on is to go into the trades and spend time building wealth through investments. And so he's got a concept of what he wants to do in his life. And his mom and I are completely behind him. The things that he's thinking about are unconventional, and man, it's like a chip off the old block. He's the type to look at things and see opportunities and make really good decisions. He's a fantastic young man. So listen to his story. He's going to tell you about what it was like when he was young. We're going to talk about some of the things that he and I both agree were really important starting off young and how that formed him. Some of the things that I've said no to, that his mom and I have said no to, how we've celebrated certain things together, and then ultimately what's the shaping of his adolescent years and how things like best days have been really important to Zach. So I hope you enjoyed this recording of a great interview with my son, Zach. Welcome to the Leveraging Success podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Gearhart. Every time that we're together, I want to help you to work less, make more, build up freedom and margin so that you can be the best dad, mom, husband, wife, and most importantly, live the life mission that God made you for. Today, we've got a great guest here, my oldest son, Zach. Zach's here. We're going to be talking about some of Zach's experiences, our experiences together. And so I'm really grateful to have Zach here. Now, you heard me speak in the intro about him. You know what I think about him. Zach is an incredible man, already man of God. He's got a special mindset, a special set of talents, and he's quickly growing up. Now, what I didn't tell you in the intro just a minute ago was that Zach is our third child. We've got four. We've got two adult daughters who are married and already on their own, building incredible lives. And Zach is the next one to crest the top and move into adulthood. He's a senior in high school. So Zach, thanks for coming on and being with me here today.
Yeah, love to.
Well, this was something that we've been talking about for a little while, ways that we could get together and talk. Now, to be clear, Zach, we're here on the same property. I'm just over in my studio. You're down in the future studio of another podcast your mom and I are
hmm
building. So that's a work in progress, but we're not just that far away from each other. I think you're about a football field away from me that way.
Yeah, just about.
All right, so tell everyone a little bit about you. Would you first, start off talking about where you go to school, what life looks like for you, where you're working, and some of the hopes that you've got right now here?
So, yeah, as he said, I'm a senior in high school. I go to a school called Cornerstone Christian Academy. I've been there going on 7 years now. Fantastic school. Loved being there. Sad to have this be the last few months that I get to be there. It's been a great school and a great experience to be there over all this time. It's been really good. I work at a coffee shop up north of where we live called Hope Coffee. It's a Christian ministry organization that uses the funds from its coffee revenue to support missionaries in South America, a little bit in Africa, but mostly South America. We have coffee farmers that we work directly with to help fund them because they're missionaries and coffee farmers. We have helped set churches up and schools and other things like that through the coffee. And so I'm not myself or any of my coworkers doing any of that part. That's mostly our boss doing that. But we are helping in a small part by providing the service that gains those funds. Yeah, it's been great working there. I've been doing it for going on 4 months, I think. About no, three, something like that, 3 months. And yeah, it's great. I love learning how to make a lot of new coffees and whatnot. So that's a lot of fun. Yeah, all those kinds of things. What was one of your other questions? Sorry.
Well, what are you hoping for? Here you're at the end of your senior year. You're about to take an adventure this summer. You can talk maybe about that in a moment. But what are you hoping for here right now in your life, being at this stage?
To find what God calls me to do, where He wants me to be, where He wants to set up, what He wants me to do with life, how He wants me to go about it. I want to see the path ahead of me, and I want to know where God wants to set that path. Yeah, I definitely want to just see where that path leads me and where I get to experience life with God and to help further His kingdom. Like I want to know what involving furthering His kingdom does He see for me, and including with furthering the kingdom and things like that. You talking about the what I'm doing over the summer, and I signed up to do a work at a camp, a Christian summer camp. So I'll be on Catalina Island, off the coast of California for almost 3 months, uh, and yeah, I'll be there working in their kitchen staff. But it's just a lot of fun for the opportunity because we've gone there as a family for a couple years now, and the opportunity to go and work at what I've experienced and seen what I've seen work through the people who work there, because the people who've worked there, they're the most amazing people. They really see God and the future and what it holds for them, and a lot of them are from Texas,
Yeah.
which is interesting and funny because the guy who runs is also from Texas, but it's all in California. But it's a lot of fun. It's a really fun and beautiful place to be. The weather's amazing, so I get to avoid the Texas heat. But yeah, it'll be so much fun and a great experience. I'm gonna enjoy it so much.
Yeah, I bet. We're so excited for you to go there. Hey, everybody, I'm here with my son, Zach Gerhardt. Zach, I'll tell you a quick story about Zach. For Heather and I, we had hoped to have more kids. So we decided that we wanted more right around a few months after 9/11. And when that happened, we decided we wanted more, but the process to have more ended up being a lot more complicated than we ever thought. And so between Zach's older sisters and he, there's just about a decade, almost a decade between them. And that just speaks to the fact that it took us a long time to conceive Zach. So when Zach showed up in our lives, it was a huge surprise. And so I had these two girls, and it was 2006, and we were just ready to have Zach, and I was sure I was going to have another daughter. And then when we were surprised, we didn't find out if we were going to have a boy or a girl. We wanted to be surprised. When Zach was born as a son, it was like a Super Bowl win for me. It was hard to peel the smile off my face. And actually, we came in with a different name, thinking we had a guy name and a girl name, and we came into the room, and all of a sudden we decided to call an audible, and we're bedside. Zach is newly born, and he'd had a little bit of breathing problems, so they whisked him off. And Heather and I are by each other there. She's in the bed, and we're talking about what to name him. And Heather came up with Zachary. And so we thought, well, we love that name. Well, we had been praying for so long, and so we named him Zachary Thomas. Thomas. Every Tom that I've ever had in my life, literally every Tom that I've ever had in my life, has been like a brother to me, a close brother. The first Tom that I would think of Zach from back in our California days is a guy named Tom Ryerson, who's a brother Tom Doyle, Tom Dosh. There's so many Toms that have been in our life, and I loved them, and I always looked up to and felt like a brotherly tie to every Tom in my life. So I thought Thomas is a fantastic name. And so we said Zachary Thomas. Well, here's the story. It was a few weeks later that Heather and I were at church. We're introducing our new son, Zachary, and another friend's wife came up to Heather and I and said, "Did you name him that on purpose?" And we're like, "Well, no, what do you mean?" He said, "Well, do you know what it means, Zachary?" And she said, "It means God remembered." And so for us, it was perfect. It was like God gave us that name when we were in the delivery room. We didn't realize that all these years of praying and waiting for you to appear were worth it. And it turned out we had another surprise a few years later with your younger brothers. So we have two sets of two. We've got our older daughters, Family A and Family B. And that story was just amazing to see that God remembered. Of course, we think of you as our special gift from God, Zach. So that may not be your favorite story about you, but for me and Mom, it's it's the thing that it just grips us because we remember the long period of time that we had to wait, and then you appeared and God gave us your name. So, Zach, I want to be able to help our listeners to be able to dissect. I always say that our families are our ministry laboratories. It's where we do ministry first, and to be honest or clear or transparent, um, we raised you differently than we raised your sisters. And we learned through that first Family A experience. And Zach, you are our first outcome of this second wave experience of what did we do differently. And so I'm not really concentrating on the differences, but really your experience as my son. Now you're an adult. You voted for the first time last year. You're experiencing all things from working to driving to starting to pay bills and manage money and save and give to the church and all of these things coming together. So let's talk a little bit about how we raised you. Tell me some of your good, bad, or ugly experiences. What would you say are some of the things that you think about when you think about being raised in our home?
I think, other than a love of Christ being instilled in me from the beginning, the one thing that you have given me, which of course you got from Bob, but the one thing that you have given me that has served me the most in life is early is on time is late, and late is unacceptable. That has served me in everything in life, and I am never late to anything because of it. And I've had my coworkers and my boss tell me that they appreciate that I'm always there early. I'm never late to things. And sometimes I drive Jacob crazy because he doesn't think we need to leave yet. And I'm saying I don't want to be late, even if there's traffic or anything.
I want to tell you about something that will change your life. It's called Priority Living. Priority Living has a set of programs, and its flagship program, the Master's Program, is a coaching for high achieving marketplace leaders. We help Christian leaders to be able to build a life that's excellent in their career, building freedom so that they're fantastic in their families, and then ultimately to live their life mission. We have cohorts that are starting this year, and I want to invite you to join me in the Master's Program. We have some of the best coaches that live, not just coach this, but live this life. And you're going to find it to be incredible. Hey, if you want to get a experience of what the Master's Program is really like, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go to the homepage of PriorityLiving.org, and you're going to see the life balance assessment there right on the homepage, right at the beginning. Go to the life balance assessment, take it. It's going to take you 5-10 minutes. You're going to get a PDF report that's going to explain to you where you're at from the strength of your life and the strength that you need to have full balance. Now, when we talk about balance, we're not talking about some sort of spreading evenly of all of our time or making sure everyone gets equal amounts of, no. We're talking about creating strength so that we can do things faster, better, quicker, and more effective, so that all of our life is having extraordinary outcomes from the inside to the outside to all of the missions that God's got for us. But you've got to be able to step on the scale. If you don't measure, how can you get better? Your opportunity, take the life balance assessment, and then you're going to get a report back. And if you're interested, you can sign up for a coaching engagement with me or one of our other coaches. When you sign up for that coaching engagement, you'll get some time to unpack that life balance assessment and then talk about how the master's program will change your life. Join us. Would love to have you.
So he thinks I'm crazy, but I will never be late to anything. If I am late, there's genuinely something going on, because I avoid being late at all times. And even that, like it because of that, it also, like, I've noticed, like, I understand the, like, being bothered by other people not showing up now. Like, I understand, like, what that's like. So I'm like, I can't do that to someone. So other than the love of Christ and the understanding of the kingdom and the furtherment of it, that is the one thing you have given me that has served me the most.
It's good. And we're always thinking about how other people feel and their time, respecting their time. So it goes back to the loving others like we love ourselves. So fantastic. How about some other stories or things that you remember? You know, I've got stories. You've got stories about you growing up. What are some of the stories that you would tell about your growing up time?
So, of course, which we actually did this morning as well, was we've always do Bible studies. We do that every morning, and we've done that every morning since, I was 4 or 5, something like that. I mean, I can't remember the last time we haven't really, like, done it consistently. To the point of, like, and we never shied away from anything, but, like, to the point of, I knew so much at an early age about the Bible stories and the principles of certain things. Like, you never shied away from certain parts of the Bible because they were too mature or something. We read the book of Judges when I was, 6 or 7 or something like that. And so I knew, like, the not dark side of the Bible, but the more gruesome, not necessarily PG versions of the Bible. And which was always funny, because at church we'd hear the Bible stories and I'd be like, yeah, but you skipped the part when everyone died. Like we'd be sitting there, or like David and Goliath. You'd always get to the end of David and Goliath and be like, yeah, so, the stone him in the head. I'm like, yeah, but he cut off Goliath's head right after. Like, wait, like, where's that part? And so, yeah, for sure, like, I definitely knew a lot really early on, and at a very young age. And that's also served me exponentially. And it also, the like opposite effect as well to that from doing that is that I've also noticed that, like, everyone my age didn't know a lot of that stuff. And there were times where, like, I had to remind myself that, like, you had shown me a lot that people hadn't often show their kids. Because there were times where it'd be like, how do you not know this? Like, this is, like, Christian 101 kind of stuff. And I sort of had to get out of that mindset. So that was, like, the opposite effect of doing that. But either way, the quote-unquote downside of it is not even close to outweighing the upside. So that specifically, taking time, even though back then you were still working with Edwards, and so you had early mornings and like very late evenings. And so even though that was happening, you were still up in the morning as many times as you possibly could, and you would read with us, and we would be putting stuff together in California and Texas and everything that we would be doing here with all of this Bible reading, Bible reading, Bible reading, Bible reading. And I think that's what like instilled the love of the word and wanting to know more about that kind of stuff. Of course, the faith had to become my own, but that was a really good way to set me up to do that.
And I would just think of what else happened this morning that's been some of our family traditions. Your mom has always done holiday and birthday pancakes. We just happen to be recording on Valentine's Day, and of course, mom's up making pink heart shaped pancakes, and so whichever holiday it is, mom's creating specific pancakes, and then on your birthday, she makes that many pancakes. This year, I think the 18 was a little excessive
Yeah.
for your birthday.
As they've gotten numerous, they've gotten smaller.
Yeah, yeah. You can only fit so much in. But, these are the memories. And what I remind people of is what to Bob, and that's Bob Shank, who you mentioned earlier. What Bob had taught me was that all of these memories that we've got together are deposits. And every one of those deposits lead back to my mom and dad love me. And so it's been really important because we've had hard times too. We've had very difficult moments where you questioned my motives or mom's motives, or you had to wonder, in the pain when we said no, when we had to discipline or keep you from something, that the question is, what's the motivation here? And so the normal battle for anybody is that they don't love me, or they don't want the best for me, or they're trying to keep me from something I should have. It's my right. But we've held you back from a lot of things that your peers, even at church, have been okay to have. How have you? I mean, and I'm looking for your transparency, not sugar-coated answer here, Zach. How have you processed our style of parenting, which would probably be considered in many cases strict, compared to your colleagues and friends? How have you processed that? And even in the difficult times, how have you processed that?
For sure, in the moment, I did not like any of it, and was always like, "Why do I have to be the one in the strict parent situation?" As far as you can call it strict. But looking back and seeing all of it now, especially seeing a lot of my peers' outcomes comparatively, I'm happy that you did, because too many people around me have way too much access to way too many things. And it is visible in their lives. I mean, a lot of the downsides or not great parts of my generation are because of the access that my generation has to too many things, and the shying me away from certain things have been a blessing. Though I did not see it at the time, it is a blessing now, to the point of like social media. I was never allowed to have it. Technically right now I could go onto my phone and download it if I wanted to, but I now don't even have a want for it. I have this kind of, because I see what it does to my friends, and I see the disconnect between other people and them and whatnot, and it's like, I don't see the worth. Sure, social media has some funny stuff on it or some fun ways to connect, but I can always find something funny somewhere else. And to be honest, lucky for me in my situation, my sister supplies me with all of the funny videos I'd ever want. So I never need to be on social media to get them. And if I'm going to communicate with someone, I'm going to do it in person, or I'm going to do it on text or phone call or whatever, because one, that's more direct anyway. So it's you shying me away from that. Definitely, I was kind of at the time going like, why? Like, why couldn't I do that? What's wrong with it? And no, it's definitely served me. It's served me exponentially. It has kept me from being caught in so many traps in life, and now I don't know. I don't even need it. I probably will not. If I ever get it, I don't know if it will be anytime soon, because there's no need for it. And why start an addiction if you don't know what it does? Like, there's no need for it. And the same thing goes for just the phone in general. I got that little plastic Gab phone thing at the age of 14, and then that Christmas it switched to the Apple Watch thing. But then on my 15th, I got the phone, which is, what I'm recording with. And actually, you can see this with my friend Jude, because he didn't get one until he was 17. The two of us are way more easily able to just set the phone aside and have a conversation without doing this the whole time with someone. And yeah, I've noticed the ick to kind of grab it sometimes, but even then, I can, with Campus by the Sea over the summer, I've been doing, there's no signal there, so you can't really use a phone. That doesn't freak me out or bother me. It does bother some of the other kids that are there sometimes, but I'm cool. It's a little annoying when I get back to find 1,000 text messages from all the teenage level friends that I have. But other than that, no, I can easily just be like, no, I'm okay. It's not going to be about it the whole time. And I see that in Jude and me, because the two of us are the two who got the phones last. Him, me, and another friend, Reed. But the three of us definitely did not get phones till later. And a lot of the three of us are probably the mindset-wise best suited for avoiding those kinds of problems. So you can see that was a really good idea.
Yeah. And you have to attribute some of the good outcomes that you're having with the excellent friends that you've had. I think who you spend time with has a big impact on your outcomes in your future. As you mentioned, Jude and Reed, two amazing, solid men with great families behind them. All of that, and them and these friends with good, godly families, it has a additive effect of input to create a culture of these are our expectations as a group of friends. Hey, so you talked a little bit about when you were 5 and that we've done Bible study. Right there at 12, I think it was your 12th, around the time you were either 11 or 12 that summer, we did Passport to Purity, which was a multi-year thing that I chopped up into our best days together. Can you talk a little bit about the impact of that and how it shaped you using that curriculum together?
So, of course, at that age, that was sort of when the sex is a thing. It was sort of when that was entering my head, and I was starting to be like, there's more to the world than Legos and toys. And you decided, I don't know if you saw that or something, or you were just prepping to it, which I think you were just prepping for what you saw coming. But it was a way to instill in me of here are the traps, here's how you spot them, here's how you avoid them, and here's how you seek guidance and help with them, and how to navigate the teenage boy growing up stage of all the problems of porn and sex and all the addictions that come with it. And so, yes, of course, you've incorporated them in the best days, and so it fit really well into it. You were able to just integrate it right into a regular best day. So when we weren't doing what we were normally doing over that weekend, we could just move over into that and work on it piece by piece, and collectively over 4 years worth of just piece by piece seeing every step and puzzle piece fit together. And so now I had built with you this shield of defense, and that served me in a lot of places for sure. I remember the first one because you and I went fly fishing in Broken Bow, Oklahoma, and I remember the little balloon trick thing that we did as the experiment in that one. I still remember that all of those things, and I remember the little puzzle piece that we did. All of those things. I remember going to the Sugar Bacon restaurant and signing the little signature with you of giving over my dating life permissions to you and whatnot at the end of there. Like I still remember all of those things.
Yeah, we're talking about Dennis Rainey, Family Life, Passport to Purity. It's a fantastic program. A good friend of mine, Chris Skiff, had recommended, and we implemented, and just really had great conversations, great object lessons, and amazing memories. Zach, you and I started reading books together. Well, we had been reading books from all the Narnia books we read together, the Lord of the Rings, and things that we read for enjoyment. And then you started to get into history. But adding on to our best days, we would typically tag on a book. And so one other shout out for an incredible book that we have read and I've recommended to many people is our friend Chad Johnson's book, How to Win a Heart, which has been another important input onto what does it look like for you to outline what you're looking for in a spouse and how you find her. What would you say to those who are listening as to why they would want to read that book or how it impacted you?
I mean, regardless of the amazing information and pieces of tools of this is what love should look like kind of thing in Christ and whatnot, other than all of that, it's also just an amazing love story of the pursuit and Chad's way of going about things. You and I had it over audiobook, and so we got to hear him read it. And then when met him, that was a little weird hearing his voice and then meeting him and hearing it as well. But but him and his wife, and there are 11 kids. They're always smiling. They're always the nicest people. Chad is amazing. He's so respectful. And he was here not too long ago for a master's program thing. And even seeing him go through the pain of what's been going on with his brother, he still was like trying to smile and see the joy and the guidance of Christ in it. And I just like his book shows such amazing love in every aspect. So, not to spoil the book at all, and I'm not going to spoil any big parts of it, but he flew across the country on a whim to ask his now wife out. So, he was willing to risk spending that much money on his at the time very low salary and just fly across the country to ask someone out. So he has grit and guts to go for that kind of thing, and it paid out, of course, fantastically for him. So yeah, he's done an incredible job with that kind of stuff. And there were some parts that you and I laughed about with that book, because of course even he had a couple things that he could have done better that he even mentions in there. But he shows you like, here's the mistakes, here's the good, not just like his great story. He's shown you like, here's what I did wrong, don't do this. So it's a great love story. It's a great little guide of decide what you want with someone and decide how, like, where you're going to go to find them and pursue someone rather than just yeah, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yet. Like just find someone, pursue them.
Yeah, he had a clear criteria for what who he wanted to marry. Man, we've read some great books together and had the opportunity to do those over best days. Last year, Gettysburg, which was pretty epic. The year before that, Vicksburg. We have enjoyed very much books like Grant by Ron Chernow together, and all of that. You have fallen in love with history. Uh, what other best day memories are you holding on to that are special from these years together?
The first one with the Jeff Gordon NASCAR races.
Okay.
I remember those ones pretty well.
Yeah.
We went to, I think, three, maybe four races total, something like that over those years. But I remember the first one being a best day specifically. It's just you and me watching that race. Um, I remember the hog with the hog hunting. That was fun. Um, yeah, Vicksburg and Gettysburg were amazing best days. Um, Such amazingly well documented battlefields. Um, and we spent, I don't know, 6 hours with a guide just driving us around, telling us about stuff both times. Uh, yeah, those were great best days for sure. Fly fishing in Broken Bow was amazing. Yeah, I mean, we've done a lot of hunting, but all of those days have been fantastic ones.
Yeah. Great memories. Walking around the battlefield at Gettysburg, where we had the guide who was taking just you and me to every stage of the battle, where it first was engaged, who was where, and being able to follow it around the battlefield and see cannons that were actually fired there, and see the strategic moves, and remember the J hook that the North had created in their layout, and the Battle of Round Top, and how they engaged at the end and lost. The South lost there, and the North defeated them, which was really sort of the beginning of the end
Right.
for that war. I was just really fascinated walking around that whole area and seeing history coming coming alive. Is that part of what makes you love history, or what is it that makes you enjoy it so much?
I like to see how things were done then, see how they're done now. I like to see the the facts of ingenuity, what people came up with, how they went about things. I mean, little details of those kinds of things. Because, of course, like you can see, like the strategic decisions of different generals and whatnot within the battle and how that affected things. I mean, with Vicksburg, the story of uh, them making a little mortar cannon out of just a gum tree because they didn't have any, and so they just put a stump there and hollowed it out and fired a cannon out of it.
I want to interrupt this recording for a second to say thank you for joining us here on Leveraging Success. What we're doing here is to help you build a life that's extraordinary. To believe that it's not just your career or just your family that can be great, but that your marriage can be extraordinary. Your children can have faith that they retain into their adult lives, that your career can flourish, that your business can grow, and you can create margin from it so that you can live the life mission that God's got for you. Thanks for joining us here. Every time that we do this, we put some links into the show notes. And today, all the resources from the books that we talked about to the life balance assessment are there as well. Hey, if you'd like to reach out to me, email me, jeff@leveragingsuccesspodcast.com. Send me a note. Tell me what you think about the show, what you like, what your questions are, what you like to hear more of. And if you're enjoying and following along, subscribe to our podcast. If you're on YouTube, like and hit the bell, because that's going to help us to find a greater audience and for us to let you know every time we drop an episode. Thanks for being on this journey with us. Keep enjoying what we're talking about here.
So things like that of just ingenuity and understanding of decisions and how they won battles, what little details of uncontrollable weather and whatnot affected the outcome of things. I mean, like the Romans, when they fought Carthage in naval battles, Rome was not a naval nation. They were not good at navy, but they were really good at copying everybody else and being better at it. And they created ways of turning naval battles into land battles by boarding other boats. And so they became the great Roman Empire because they weren't just seeing what they didn't do as good. They just saw what they did, said, let's implement that, and then let's improve on it. Seeing those kinds of decisions that affected what made the Roman Empire, seeing things of what made the British Empire, or what brought the United States together, or the Civil War, why things won, the argument between whether or not Vicksburg or Gettysburg was a more important battle towards the Civil War and whatnot. Just things like that. The detail.
I love it too. I don't know what it is, that maybe it's the story, the strategy, the human outcomes of struggle and uncertainty. You know, I love all of that kind of stuff. It reminds me actually of like the battles that Russia and France had with Napoleon, because Russia struggled with France, and that reminds me of my Russian engineering friend. He's a Russian sound engineer, and he's helped me from time to time. And I also have a Czech one too.
Well, you had to throw it in there somewhere. I guess that makes sense. Should have seen that one coming. Because you said Russian friend, I'm going through, who's Russian that we know is a sound designer? Like, I had to think about that.
I always enjoy a good dad joke, but mine, I try to make them like intricate and integrated into a real conversation, so that by the time you've bit down on my hook, I've got it really hard. So yeah, that one I had to weave in.
You like to lay a little bit of a minefield for people to walk through, for sure, with the dad jokes.
I just think that it's sweeter. The dad joke is more funny if it's like it hits you out of nowhere.
It's definitely funnier because of the fact of like it's laid there for you to discover, and it's not just like, oh, here, let me tell you a joke. You're expecting a joke. Like the punch hits much harder with that for sure.
Okay, you got to rate a couple of these for me. Some of my favorite dad jokes. Your sister curates videos to send you that are funny. I keep a list of dad jokes. Here's some of my favorite ones. Zach, did you know that most bald people, they still own a comb? I don't know why, but they just can't part with it.
Just can't part with it.
This one's a little bit more related to you, Zach. I don't know if you know this, but Mom gave birth in our car on the way to the hospital, and so I had to name him Carson.
Carson.
Which, by the way, was the name we were going to name you. That was the boy name we brought into the hospital. But we audibled to Zachary, thank God, because I thought at the time we should name you after Carson Palmer, and I am so glad we did not.
Well, he betrayed Cincinnati, so not worth it.
We are Cincinnati Bengals fans. You and I, your brother and Mom, we love watching NFL football. An important thing that I've discovered is that I've lived my entire life being absolutely positive that I would never receive a phone call from a vegetable. Then, boom, onion rings.
Onion rings. I was expecting you were going to say something else, and then you threw in another one. I thought you were going somewhere with this, and I did not expect onion rings. A vegetable. I heard you say a vegetable call, and I was like, oh, here we go. I braced myself.
All right. All right. I will tell you there's one more coming, and we'll end it here. I've decided to learn jokes in sign language. That way, I can guarantee no one's ever heard them before.
No one's ever heard that before.
I know they're bad.
No one's ever heard them before. I should have expected that one. I feel like I've heard something similar, so I should have seen that one coming with the sign language.
Zach, man, it's been so good to talk to you. I'm so proud of you. I'm so excited about your future, the vocation God's got for you, the future family that God's got for you, the adventure, and all that's ahead. And so I'm behind you. Mom and I are behind you all the way. Thank you for coming, telling your story, and helping others to see a picture of what it looks like to be a godly young man. I love you, Zach.
Love you.